on the right hash. Daniel Whelan the hold. The kick is blocked. It is blocked. The Browns get the swat and turn the Packers away. Good snap. Good hold. The kick is on the way. The kick is good.
Andre Schmidt wins the game for the Browns as they upset the Green Bay Packers 13-10. Not the highest scoring game, but the Browns will take it any way they can. And Andre Schmidt with the redemption after he essentially lost us the game versus the Bengals in Week 1. It was incredible to see. And again, the Browns upsetting the Green Bay Packers. That and more coming up on this episode of the Brownie Points podcast. We will be recapping the game for you. We're going to discuss the rookie class and their performances. Dillon Gabriel or Joe Flacco going forward. Joe Flacco hasn't exactly been impressive, but they did just win a game. Then we're going to have our Brownie Points segment where we award Brownie Points to the standout players on offense and defense, 3, 2, and 1. The more Brownie Points you get, the better we thought you performed. And then we will do our preview segment with the Lions versus the Browns game coming up next week. Levi, let's get started with that game. Really boring and then also really exciting game. The Browns didn't score for 97% of the game until 3 minutes and 38 seconds, I believe it was. The Browns had not scored at all, 0. They had done nothing. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they scored 13 points and they win the game. In the process, blocking a field goal. I mean, the way that they won that game, it was so interesting because it was the opposite of what we usually experience, which usually we're on the other end of that. And when they had that big return, when they had the ball at the end of the game and we gave it to them and then they returned it all the way up to the 40, I just got that gut feeling. I was like, the Browns lost it. That was it. And then they drove down. I was like, it's over. And then they turned it around. What was your feelings on that game?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It felt like a game. I felt coming into it that it was a game we were going to lose, but lose closely. I'm personally not the biggest fan of Jordan Love. I think he's overrated. I don't think he's terrible. I just think he's overrated. And they have a good defense. We have a great defense. But it just kind of felt like we were going to keep it close, but I didn't have confidence in our offense. And so I thought, hey, you're going to need something kind of fluky to work out if you're going to win this game. And I can't predict that, especially not for the Browns. But what do you know?
Yeah.
It worked out this time. But that's kind of what happened. Like, honestly, if it wasn't for some fluky stuff, we would have lost.
Yeah, the defense played very well again, but the offense, was sputtering along throughout the entire game like they always have. Throughout the entire game, it was dink dunk. Even at the end, it's not like Joe Flacco threw a 40-yard bomb. It was Quinton Junkins primarily leading the way, and Joe Flacco did have a nice, savvy, quick throw to David Njoku at the end of the game. But for the most part, we saw more dinking and dunking, a very conservative, a very reserved, a very restrained offense throughout that entire game.
Well, and also what you saw was they would move the ball and then stop right about the 50. It's like right when they got into their territory, they start to condense. They couldn't move the ball anymore.
Yeah, because the defense was already condensing because they know Joe Flacco
consistently
wasn't
got up
further.
there.
Yeah,
like it wasn't a lot of 3 and outs. They would move the ball a little bit, which I think also did help the defense. So it wasn't one of those situations where you're 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and then the defense is exhausted.
Yeah,
but still problematic. The offense still doesn't inspire confidence. You do feel good about Quinton Judkins. That's a tough front to run against.
Yeah. And
there's nobody passing the ball that's making you worried that you have to balance for the pass. And he still makes plays. The guy's barely played all camp. And he comes in against the Ravens, makes plays. Comes in against the Packers, makes plays. It gives you a lot of confidence that moving forward. He put up almost 100 yards against the Packers.
Yeah.
So that's a guy you're feeling like moving forward. You're feeling very good about. And we'll see when we play other teams, obviously. But you're starting to wonder, okay, wait a second. He might be RB2 in this whole draft.
Yeah.
He looks good so far. We'll see what Gene T does because it's a bit of a slow start. But
sure,
for a guy with his prolific talent coming out of college, he gets a little more leeway before we start throwing doubt on his and everything.
Yeah, so, obviously. But that actually kind of leads us into the rookie class, right? Quinton Judkins is looking great. Harold Fannin, we have to see, but he's still looking pretty solid. Carson Schwarzenegger is looking incredible. Mason Graham looked better this week than he did before, so hopefully he'll continue to improve. But you have to think, overall, the rookie class has been fairly impressive. I loved what I saw from Quinton Judkins throughout that game. He had this awesome ability to get a few more yards every play, turn 1 yard into 2 or 3, turned 3 yards into 4 or 5, 5 into 6 or 7. He just consistently got you a few more yards, which is awesome to have because that stuff really adds up over the course of a game, especially when you're in short yardage situations. So I was very impressed with Quinton Judkins. Obviously, Harold Fannin didn't get as many opportunities as maybe we would have liked him to get, but what he got, he still did well with. Again, getting more out of the play than you would have initially thought, and that was nice to see from him. Again, Mason Graham had a decent week, although that whole defensive line really had quite a great week. And Carson Schlesinger is really looking like, I don't want to say the steal of the draft because, it's the top of the second round, but he's looking like another hit. Andrew Berry's looking like he actually had a really solid draft class. What were your impressions from this week?
It's really more than this week, right? I mean, in general, the rookie classes look good. Mason Graham's looked better and better, and he had a really good week in the pass rush, which was excellent to see. This run game in general, the run stopping of this Browns team is top notch. I mean, you have Derrick Henry going for 20 yards, and then you have Josh Jacobs barely moving the ball. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing was Chase Brown, who I was a little nervous actually because at first he was great, in that
first half, but yeah.
And you're like, oh man, is this run defense not going to be that good this year? And kind of going back to that not so great defense. But no, ever since then, really, complete shutdown of the running backs. And obviously we've seen the secondary do what they do. But yeah, it's been great. Mason Graham moving up. Schlesinger is that, he just feels like a classic middle linebacker type, just a problem. He gets in there. He has really great instincts. He gets to the ball quickly. He's a really nice late blitzer, actually. He's had quite a bit of QB pressures and sacks late. He recognizes opportunities late and knows when to suddenly hit it. And when he does make the move for the quarterback, he doesn't hesitate. That's very critical.
Yeah.
When you see that opportunity and you're going to make that decision, you have to make it right away and just beeline.
And he was known as a leader in college, Carson Schlesinger, and you see how he stepped in right away because you don't have JOK. Right, he stepped in immediately as really linebacker number 1, taking the Mike linebacker role, and you really feel like he's going to develop into this quarterback of the defense type player. Obviously, with superstars like Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward to the media, he's not going to be the quarterback of the defense, but to the team, he's that guy that you could really see him being that heart and soul, the brains of the team, and that was really interesting to see from him. Obviously, him pairing with JOK potentially could be incredible, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but Carson Schlesinger looks really incredible. Again, Mason Graham we talked about, and Quinton Judkins we discussed. How about Harold Fannin? He didn't exactly pop off this week.
Before we go there, though, you do want to touch on the fact that the entire defensive line was excellent this week.
Oh, yeah.
Lee Collins had several sacks.
We're going to be discussing that later, but yeah, exactly. But the whole defensive line was impressive.
Right? You're getting Alex Wright. You're getting real action from other people. And what you've got is you've got Garrett and everyone else, but everyone else are actually a lot of solid players, a lot of guys making plays.
Yeah.
As opposed to, sometimes you need that other guy. Instead of having with that one other guy, but it's like everyone else, but they're making enough plays. It's not like, 2 sacks for the year. You are actually getting some real production. That's really important. And as far as Harold Fannin goes, sorry, not to interrupt.
No, yeah, go ahead. I was going to lead you in there anyway.
It's hard to say right now when it comes to any pass catchers because this offense is just not moving the ball. Mm-hmm. And, Njoku's barely done much overall, but we all know Njoku's a good player. And Jerry Jeudy looked like a superstar last year, and now he suddenly can't get anything. Is that really because of Jerry Jeudy? I doubt it. I mean, he may not be as good as last year, but I doubt he's where he is this year.
Yeah. That's part of the thing, right? And we were discussing this before we started recording. The transition we saw before when Joe Flacco went on that incredible streak, going from Deshaun to Joe Flacco, you saw all these receivers all of a sudden start playing really well. Those receivers were the same receivers they were the week before Joe Flacco got there. But we're seeing now the opposite effect, where now all of a sudden nobody can get really much going in the receiving game outside of the tight ends. And, the tight ends didn't even get that much this week, but other than them, it was basically nothing. Everybody else is fighting for scraps, but it's really just dead. And you really feel like it's difficult to evaluate, and I really hope it doesn't. I don't think it's going to stunt Harold Fannin's development, but I think it will stunt our ability to evaluate him potentially, and we'll see what happens with that. But that's the kind of thing, right? Somebody like Harold Fannin's development, again, not development, but our ability to evaluate him and that kind of thing being stunted, it makes you wonder if it's time to just hand it over to Dylan Gabriel already. It's just so painful to watch. The offense sputtering and dinking and dunking in 3-4 yards. The defenses are already preparing. It's only going to get worse from here on out as the defenses know with 100% certainty that they can close and load the box and you don't have to worry about intermediary throws. I mean, Joe Flacco coming into the season, we didn't know what he was going to be, but he did have a bit of a reputation of being a gunslinger in the Browns offense and having a big arm. We were expecting deeper throws, bigger throws, explosive plays, interceptions, yes, but also 40-yard bombs. And we're not getting any of that, and opposing defenses are learning that, and it's going to be in their game plans more and more so going forward. This is only going to get uglier and uglier, and to me, I think it's time to hand it over to Dillon Gabriel already, because I don't see the offense getting any worse, truthfully, than it has been with Joe Flacco. I mean, the team could barely score anything. I mean, the one time they did score in that game was one drive was Quinshon Judkins leading the entire way with 2 huge runs. And then, no, we'll just leave it. Doesn't matter. But was Quinshon Judkins leading the drive. And then the blocked field goal, which put them in great field position. I don't really see much of a drop-off unless Dillon gets out there and just throws tons of interceptions. But the offense that Joe Flacco's been running is the exact offense that I would have expected if Dillon Gabriel was playing. It's like a rookie offense where it's just a bunch of dump-offs to the tight end, pounding the ball as much as you can, barely throwing more than 3 to 4 yards, and everyone's in a blue moon just tossing it, almost just ceremoniously, just to be like, defense, don't forget, we can throw it this far. But it doesn't really matter because they're not completing it anyways. I mean, the ball was sailing over the receiver's head.
Well, and here's the thing, right? So we want to talk about rookies, and yeah, they can run a simpler offense with rookies, but they're usually still not this conservative. This
is outrageous. This is outrageous.
Who's there, but what this really speaks to is the fact that, and this is something that people struggle with, is quarterbacks age. And not everybody ages at the same time, but then they hit a wall, and then that's it. And when he was with the Browns, it was kind of like a renaissance there for a little bit, but even then he was throwing picks. And it doesn't always last. And if you watched him with the Colts, you knew that there were issues last year. I mean, it showed up. He had a lot of bad games with the Colts. And a few good ones near the end, but he had a lot of bad ones.
Yeah.
They benched him again for Richardson, who was not playing well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he wasn't playing well, and then that continues to fall off, which makes sense. He's 40 years old. And he's continued to fall off, and he's now at a point where he's not really a playable starting quarterback. Like, you can play him, but more than a game or two is really stretching it. He doesn't move the ball downfield. And you could talk about, oh, well, what if someone else comes in there and throw interceptions? But on the other hand, that offense is so poor, you're not going to win games that way. You cannot expect to win games 13-10 via your running back making 80% of the yards on one drive, followed up very quickly by an interception putting you by the 5.
That's
followed up by a block kick to get you the rest of the way besides one pass.
Yeah.
To get you into field goal range. Like, that is not a winning formula. Your offense is not moving. Your quarterback did not actually lead the offense in one single scoring drive.
Yeah.
Not one. And the offense as a whole
what I'm trying to
only
say.
had
Like,
one.
it can't get any worse. Like, the plays that...
Even interceptions is like, but you're losing anyway. When
Right.
you have that little offense, you're going to lose anyway. It doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is
6-0's not a game plan.
This is not some kind of a sustainable win model. It's not like, okay, but next week they're going to do the same thing. The defense will keep it close. The offense will get a couple scores, and then we'll win. Like, no, they were flukes. And I don't want to say flukes because I feel like that is taking credit away from the defense. But I think the listeners know what I'm trying to get at here. Like,
no, but it was a fluke.
But you can't
punts and interceptions.
Yeah.
That's a little fluke.
Right, but the interception wasn't really, and the running wasn't. But you can't game plan for that. You can game plan for like 2 schemed touchdowns and like a field goal or something and hope to win 17-14. You can't game plan for what happened this past week. I don't want to say fool's gold because I mean it was 13 points. Is a fool's copper? I don't know. Right? I don't know the order of...
Well, it's a win against the Packers, so you could argue that's gold.
Yes. You could... But that's the thing. That's why I feel like this win was just enough for the coaching staff to be like, it's not time yet. Like, let's give it another game. Like, we can't take it away from him after they upset the Packers. That's what I am concerned about, and I really feel like if you're being smart, you need to make the moves before it tanks your entire season. Like, let's make this move before the team is 1-5 and the season's already over. Like, wouldn't that be nice? Like, let's give it a try before that happens.
Let's be frank here for a minute. Do you see them making a move this week before the Lions? Because the reports are initially they're not going to.
No, I don't think they will.
So if they're not going to do that,
I want them to, but I don't think they
see
will.
them doing it next week unless there's an injury. Because the next week is
the Vikings. Yeah.
And the Vikings defense is so complicated. They do so much in the post-snap game. It confuses almost every quarterback they play. It's so difficult to play against. And so I don't think you want to do that to a rookie. Like, the hardest thing for a rookie is actually not the talent. Don't get me wrong, it's harder, of course, when you play talented defenses.
Yeah.
But the most complicated thing is the difficult, complex looks. It's hard for anyone, but especially for rookies. So I don't think they wouldn't want to throw him in there for his first game and be like, oh, your first game, you're going to play this super complex defense.
Yeah.
And since I don't think they're quite ready to pull the trigger this week, I think it happens week 7 after the Vikings game.
Yeah,
especially because that's in London too. So you're going to go to London and play the Vikings. Chances are going to wait till next week. Then you get the Steelers, who they haven't been as good defensively as they've been in previous years. Although they did look a little bit better this week, but for the most part, been a little shakier. And then you get like the Jets and the Dolphins and the Patriots. So it's like that's definitely a softer landing. So even though I wish we could swap the weeks, I wish they were playing the Vikings this week. And then you can move on next week with the Lions, because then the Lions' defense isn't that tough. And then you get a nice 4 or 5 game stretch there where it's a lot easier and it'll be smoother. But as is, I expect them to wait till after week 6 because they don't want to play them against the Vikings. I think it's more of a Dylan Gabriel perspective than the team's perspective on why they're waiting at this point.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating because the Lions, you feel like you have very little chance against because they have a good offense, but their defense is susceptible. On the other hand, it doesn't feel like this offense has the ability to take enough advantage to really have a chance in the game.
Yeah.
Although, look, our defense is so spectacular, they might just give this Lions team a problem, but it's just really tough.
But the offense has to
so
be
much talent.
The offense basically has to be gifted a short field, and even then, it's still like most likely a field goal. Like it's so bad. But I do agree with your point that they won't. And they probably won't until like week 7, pretty much. Week 6, 7 is about when I think it's going to happen. So we'll see. But I'm just hoping that it's not too late by the time they make that move. And they're not going to wait until they're, like I said, 1-5 or something before they make that move. We're going to transition here to the Brownie Point segment. Again, if you're a first-time listener, the Brownie Point segment is where we reward brownie points to the top players on offense and defense. Last year, if you listened last year, we did 3 on offense and 3 on defense. This year, we're just doing 3 for the whole team in general. We feel like it makes it just a little bit more special to get those brownie points. The more brownie points you get, the better you did. So, at 3 brownie points, who do you got?
So, I went with a bit of a cop-out because I chose the whole defensive line. But it just felt like it was one of those weeks where you had to acknowledge the defensive line, and there wasn't one guy who got 3 sacks. So, it felt like...
That's what we were discussing before. We were like... I want to give it. You said you want to give it to the defensive line because no one guy dominated. Like everybody really contributed. But to me, I was like, I feel like Myles Garrett deserves it because Myles Garrett's the reason everyone else got to eat because Myles was drawing, double and triple teams.
And I was just countering that. Ultimately, then you can make the argument about all the guys. Like, okay, well, Jordan Addison went off and be like, oh, well, Justin Jefferson's the one drawing double coverage.
Right.
But it's like
at a certain point, you have to give credit to other people.
Guys who did stuff. Like, I mean, like, that's what you have to do. And, like, obviously, that's the benefit of Myles Garrett, and he deserves his props, and he will get his props in most of the games. And look, it's been
years where the Browns were not taking advantage of that fact. So it's actually really nice to see people taking advantage of it, which I think lends to your point that you still do have to take advantage of it, and they did, so let's recognize it. But I did want to, like, also point out Myles Garrett there getting double and triple teamed. And
he definitely did get triple teamed.
The Packers had to game plan for him, and the Browns game planned for the fact that he was being game planned for. And it was very effective.
But they have a effective rotation. So you look at Mason Graham, he had a really good game pass rushing. Actually, better than I thought he would have this early in his career. Mm-hmm. And then you saw Malik Collins have an impact.
Alex Wright.
He looked good. Alex Wright looked good. And then really great. I'm really liking Aiden Huntington. By the way, side note, I don't know if you've seen him play fullback a little bit.
Yeah. Apparently he did play earlier in his career at some point. I don't know if that was in college or
super
whatever.
Super versatile for a undrafted free agent.
Because I know the Browns like fullbacks every once in a while. They do run some sets, but they don't want to waste a roster spot in a fullback. So I think they like having another player who's able to play that position. Because they did that last year too, where they'd throw out a defensive lineman or some other random guy to be fullback, like tight end or something.
But that's a key little thing for like an undrafted guy. And it's funny
because it helps you stick on the roster, right?
Right. And then it turns out like it could be later. It turns out like some of these guys will go on and he'll end up being a rotational guy with like 6 sacks a year and like a nice piece. And people don't realize that the reason he got on the roster is because of that, right? So like Steve Smith, he got on rosters because of special teams.
I was going to say receivers and special teams is often the gateway.
No, but that was it. He didn't play receiver much, almost at all, until like 3 years in. And then also it was like, oh, he's a Hall of Fame receiver, which is wild. Yeah. By the way, side note, a little bit of that with Kevontae Turpin on the Cowboys. He's finally getting opportunities, and he's not that level, but he's doing quite a bit of production whenever they go to him. Yeah. And he's showing that he does have more chops than just being a return man. Mm-hmm. A little out of whack. But the point being, Eddie Huntington showing that extra is what's allowing him to be on the roster, and he's already made a few big plays already as an undrafted rookie.
He's been nice.
He's been really nice. So I just want to give I like the fact that there felt like there was consistent pressure. No matter where you went, from here, center, left, inside, outside, pressure was coming.
Yeah,
that's so critical for this team.
Absolutely. And then at 2 Brownie points, we were in complete agreement. Look, we came to an agreement on 3, but at 2, we were definitely in agreement. Quinshon Judkins absolutely balled out in that game. I mean, he looked like a bulldozer on some of those plays. I loved it when he get the ball and he just charges forward straight into them, but he also had some shiftiness and, jukes here and there to break off for some bigger runs like we saw in that big drive towards the end of the game, but also in those really short yard situations, as I said earlier, turning 1 yard into 2 or 3, 3 into 4 or 5, 5 yards into 6 or 7. He really has that ability to fall forward, push forward, and get an extra couple yards. Not Marshawn Lynch, but Marshawn Lynch-esque in that archetype of players who just have a knack for getting a couple more yards, just a little bit more out of every play. What was your impressions of Quinshon Judkins' performance?
Yeah, I really liked him, and I really liked him coming out of college. I liked him better than Travion. I think guys like Travion don't usually translate as well to the NFL. They're the guys you love because of the highlights, but in the NFL, generally speaking, you got to be an in-between the tackle runner, and you got to make that work. To be a really good running back, you got to be a guy who gets those 5-6 yards consistently. That's what actually makes great NFL running backs, typically. And yeah, you'll have those highlights, but you got to have that. It's like a great fighter. You got to have a good jab. Everybody looks for that big uppercut and that big power shot, and that's what fans think. But it's all about the jab. If you got a great jab, that's what makes a good fighter. Every great striker has a great jab.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to have that great 4-yard up the middle run that's supposed to be 2 yards. You've got to have that. And I think Quinshon does that, and that helps also the offense stay on schedule. And then at the same time, when the hole's there, he has burst. So he's a really nice running back to have. I'm super glad they took him. I think he's the high floor running back. I think he's the right running back in this class. Super glad they took him. And also, his first 2 games are against the Ravens and then the Packers.
Yeah, and it's not like he was playing butter defenses. Like he's playing.
It feels like there's only more coming.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like he did this against the worst team in the league or like one of the worst defenses, and then you'd be like, all right, he played well and he's a rookie, so we're happy about it. But let's see what he does against better competition. He's already played the better competition and he showed out. So you just feel like, let's see what he's going to do against
not even doing anything
a worse
on the
defensive team, though. Right, coming up in the next few weeks. So that'll be really interesting. And then at 1 Brownie point, we were also in agreement with Carson Schwarzenegger, who we've already talked about as well, of course, in a recap. Schwarzenegger, I mean, he just looks unbelievable. What a pick. He is definitely a first-round talent that we got. I mean, top of the second round, one could argue it's kind of like a first-round pick. But either way, Carson Schwarzenegger, I think, has met and I think exceeded expectations of even those who liked him coming out of college.
Yeah, and a quick note on that, because he's doing really good. And we're talking about this draft class. And what's really interesting is, so Barry, it looks like he might have actually gotten a class, right? Because he had a few hits, but he never had a class. What's also interesting is another highly touted GM in this league, and some people don't talk about it as much, but whenever he comes up, he's always brought up as like a great drafter and a very underrated GM, is actually Jason Light of the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
But if you actually go back, he also actually had a similar thing going on, where he had a few hits, but he had some big busts, he had a lot of misses, and then as of 2020, he got to be a lot better. Like, you go back in 2020, that's when he drafted Tristan Wirfs, and he started getting guys like Winfield, and he started getting whole classes. And the last couple of classes he's had has actually been really good. But that started, like, he didn't do that right away. He actually had several years when it was, like, in and out, and he drafted guys like Jameis, and he drafted some high ends, but he drafted some big busts, and then he found his groove. So the other thing to keep in mind is maybe Barry's found a formula that works.
Right?
Yeah, because you don't always need that many classes to make a big difference. So if you get a whole class and then you have the right formula, even if the next class isn't as good, if you have 3 hits per class and then every once in a while an entire big class, that works really well.
Yeah.
So, and that's really important because you can't always rely on free agents doing everything for you. So that was really, it's been really encouraging to see. And Schwarzenegger, I think, I like guys in this class, but Schwarzenegger might end up being the best rookie this year. Like, he is really special.
Of the Browns, you mean, or the NFL? Okay, you mean the Browns. Okay, I was going to say.
I'm saying in a really good class, he might be the best of them. And that's not an attack on Mason Graham. He looks really good, and I think Judkins is going to be very good. It's not because I don't think they're being very good. But I just think Schwarzenegger's special.
I think Carson looks like one of those guys. He's going to be the linebacker for the next 10 years. He's going to be manning that defense for the next 10 years.
Like, he reminds me of Luke
I was going to say, I was thinking that when we were watching the game, I was like, doesn't he have like a little Luke Kuechly vibes in him?
He's always there. He's just, he knows his moment and he goes for it. His football IQ, in terms of like knowing his gaps and where to go and where to, it's so good.
Yeah, he's somebody that you just feel like he's going to be a Pro Bowler, like perennially all-pro type of guy. Not saying he's going to be all-pro every year because obviously there's only like 1 or 2 of those. But
honestly,
Pro Bowl,
when's the last linebacker we've seen like this? We have not seen a linebacker in the league like this in a couple of years.
I feel like trying to remember, but I mean,
somebody like him. Not
I
saying
love
he's a
like
good
Bobby
linebacker,
Wagner.
but that's how
but
long
that was
ago.
quite a few
I'm
years
talking
ago,
about new
yeah.
guys. Like, when was the last time you see a new guy go off like this?
I don't know.
Who's just like constantly making plays in the
I feel
backfield.
there's got to be somebody that I'm just
Probably
not thinking
someone
of,
that's slipping
but
your mind, but it's not common.
I
It's
feel
been
like
a while.
I feel like we're gonna watch this back and just be like, oh, that was dumb. But we'll see.
But I can't think of any. I'm not talking about the outside linebackers who are like basically pass rushers,
Yeah.
making sacks. I'm talking about guys in the middle, like just constantly in there, constantly making plays.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's something.
But
It's
he's-
not as common anymore, so it's a really nice thing to have for the Browns.
Yeah, but he's definitely been special, and he's going to be really interesting to keep watching. It's nice to have a little bit more. And I think with Carson Schwarzenegger, just like the last thing before we move on here, is he really, I think, will help give us a 3-level defense. You like your dominant guy in the defensive line, Myles Garrett, your dominant linebacker, Carson Schwarzenegger, and then your shutdown corner with Denzel Ward. That could be unreal because you see the effect that Myles Garrett can have, allowing other people to be successful. Carson Schwarzenegger can have that same effect, and Denzel Ward and that secondary can have a similar effect. Delpit's also been coming on lately, by the way. We haven't mentioned him, but he's been coming on this year. He's had his moments. He's had his moments this year. Let's preview Lions versus Browns coming up. Obviously, the Browns upset the Packers. My guess is that the Browns will not be favored against the Lions, nor should they be. The Lions, as we were discussing, not the greatest defense in the world, but their offense is still potent. The Browns have a great defense, and their offense kind of stinks. In my opinion, I think that's going to go against the Browns. Because I think, yes, the Lions' defense might not be incredible, but the Browns' offense can't move, and I don't think they're going to be able to move against the Lions. So I think that the Lions' defense is suddenly going to look not too bad, and their offense is going to get enough done against the Browns' defense.
Well, because their strength is their offensive line on offense, and they have
Yeah.
a very good offensive line. And that doesn't mean the Browns defense won't have its advantages, but when you're more evenly matched, you have enough time on enough plays that, like, yes, the rest of that defense is good. I don't want to knock them, but Jameson Williams has made a lot of plays. Amon-Ra is still Amon-Ra. And this Isaac Tesla guy is not killing it, but he makes a couple big plays every time, some freakish plays. And when he's making his play, like, there's nothing you can do. It's like he has a couple of those plays where it's like, okay, he's just leaping up, making some one-handed grab, whatever. So it's just, and we know about the run game.
Yeah.
And you know about that O-line. And there's just so much going on. It feels like, yeah, okay, they're not going to win by a lot. They're not going to go crazy. But if they get a lot of opportunities, they're going to cash in enough times.
That's what I'm
that
saying.
It doesn't feel like this offense can move the ball. Even though the Lions defense sucks, it's like, but like,
the thing is,
you saw the same thing with the Bears, right? Like, eventually they got going and kept going. Like, so,
and the thing is also, though, when the offense is as bad as the Browns offense is, you get a lot of 3-and-outs. When you get a lot of 3-and-outs, the defense is on the field for a disproportionate amount of time. And so their rate of giving up big plays might actually be still the best in the league, but then they could give up 27 points. You're like, well, the defense wasn't that good. But they really were. They were just on the field 30% longer than anybody else.
What happened with the Ravens.
And I could see, and I see that happening against the Lions too. So I actually think the Lions are going to score quite a few points. I think this score. I think it's going to be.
You're saying it'll be late. It'll be it'll be that building momentum, and then.
I think it's going to be an ugly game. Yeah, I think it'll be close at first because the defense is good. I think they're going to pull away. I think the Lions are going to win this one actually 27-10.
Okay, I hear you. I don't know if I have a score. Probably something around that range. You have to go
like roughly
30-13, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be ugly. We'll see if it's enough that Dylan Gabriel comes in even in the middle of the game. You never know. I actually wouldn't. I wouldn't mind. I would not mind if the Browns are getting destroyed. Third quarter, they're down by 15, 20 points. I would not mind putting Dylan Gabriel in there for the whole fourth quarter because you can play that off with Joe Flacco.
Did you see him, by the way, Dylan, when he did come in against Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play that much. For the 3 passes.
Pass was nice.
But the 3 passes he had, obviously, were good.
The touchdown pass, did you see it?
Yeah.
He layered it. It was a nice pass.
No.
I mean, it's one play, but it was a nice pass.
It's one play and it was in garbage time, so
but
it lent
was
too
nice
much
to
credit.
see.
But look, he did literally the most you could possibly do with what he was given, so obviously that's worth something. But I would love to see him come in the fourth quarter if the Browns are getting destroyed. I can't stand how NFL teams don't like doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, whoever's starting a QB, they just keep them in there for the whole game. And the NBA is like, once you're down by like 20 points, there's 2 minutes left, just pop in the backups, give them a couple reps or something. The NFL, it's like they only do that. They only do that in like the last minute or something. And I really feel like, I don't know, I would like to see Dylan Gabriel get out there in the fourth quarter if it's a big gap.
And the one thing the last thing I want to point out is, and this is where it gets so difficult, because you play bad defense, you're like, oh, it'll be better. But the problem is the problem with this offense, the real thing, right, with Flacco is he can't get the ball downfield. What does that mean? So you know how it's always hard for teams, all the teams, to move the ball when they get into the red zone or near the red zone, the 40-yard line of the opposing team. It's because it condenses the field, right? Like, they can play tougher, right? They move in.
You can't spread everything out as much.
Right. There's not as much to defend in the back end, right? So when you can't throw the deep ball effectively, that's the defense you're playing all game long. It's just always condensed. They're always playing in, so there's always more defenders in the area all game long. If you cannot push the ball downfield, it comes back to bite you, and even weaker NFL defenses can play that a lot more effectively because they have all those extra bodies.
You might start seeing like short picks start cropping up, and those short picks end up with pick sixes. That's also how you saw those like little tipped balls become picks, because the defenders are hugging them so tight, because like, where are you going to go? Not past me. That's for sure. You're going to be in front. And you saw it against the Packers, where the players were starting to just curl around because they know you're not about to pull a double move. You're going to be right there. You're going 4 or 5 yards, and then you're going to turn around. So, but it's a real problem. I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be any better against the Lions. I think it's going to be hard to watch. Sometimes I wish that I was more optimistic, but that's what I think. Before the season, I said the Browns, I thought we're going to win about 5 games. So, I mean, I'm not going to have a lot of predictions where I think the Browns are going to win. And I didn't see any evidence to really change that opinion.
My opinion was, first of all, I thought they'd be 2-1 because I thought they'd take out the Bengals. But also, I think they're going on a little bit of a tear with Dylan in there. Like, I don't think a crazy tear. I just mean when they play the weaker teams, I think they might win a couple 3 out of 5, and then that would be 4 wins, and then that's how they get to their 6-7. I think.
Yeah, I think also more Browns fans have warmed up a little bit to Dylan Gabriel. I think like before the season started, because everyone was like, who the hell is this guy? Obviously, we were a little different. We were both on him from before the draft even. Like, we were saying that, hey, he's not that bad. Actually, the Browns might take him. You straight up said, I think the Browns will take him, actually. But I think Browns fans have warmed up to him in the preseason and his play. I'm not saying the Browns fans are clamoring for him to play, but I think Browns fans right now,
the noise is starting.
I'm cool with it. I'd be fine with that. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem.
I did see one person on the radio try to say, "Oh, the veterans will feel like it's a white flag if they take Flacco out."
I saw that. I completely disagree.
A white flag? To take out a guy who's struggling to move the ball, who can't lead them down one scoring drive? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How is that a white flag?
I don't think the veterans are so stupid that they can't recognize a quarterback who's not throwing beyond 10 yards. It's actually a detriment to the team.
And he's not athletic. He can't move right now at this point of his career. So it's like he can't move and he can't throw it downfield.
So what's he going to do? I know, exactly. And that's what we saw. It's a disaster. Hopefully it won't be. Hopefully we'll be hilariously wrong.
Hopefully Quinshon Judkins will just run for $150.
Yeah, and we'll laugh about it next week.
And the defense will just shut him down. We'll get $150 out of Quinshon, and it'll be another beautiful win.
Yep, and we will be seeing you next week. The last couple weeks were a bit quirky because I got married, and things were way busier. I wouldn't say that I expected. I expected it to be busier, but we were not able to get out an episode, unfortunately. But we should be getting back to... We will be getting back to weekly episodes, so we will see you next week.
See you next week.